Hello again, crafters. Time for another card tutorial, and this time I'm using Kindly Thoughts by Nitwit, which is a lovely floral paper, and this is a great card. It's an angled gatefold card, and I've used 3 different papers here, so it's a great one to show off your patterned papers. It's got a nice patterned one here, a nice plain, well I say plain, but when you zoom in you can see plenty of pattern on that. It's like a lace one, and then on the inside one of the border papers as well, so plenty of space to write on the inside as well. So if you like this card and you want to make it, just stay tuned and I'll take you through. So grab some cardstock, grab some papers, and let's get going. So to start off with, I'm going to make the card base. So I'm using some A4 cardstock here, and I'm actually going to use the entire width of this. But if you are using a different sized cardstock, like 12 by 12 or an American size, it's going to be 11 and 5/8 roughly. Yeah, so it's not an exact 5/8, but 11 5/8 will do for you. And then I'm just going to cut it at 7 inches tall. So that's all our cutting done. So let's bring in our scoreboard. Now, if you haven't got a scoreboard, don't worry. You can just do it with your embossing tool for this, because there's not much scoring at all. It's just 3.5 inches. And 8.5 inches. So that's just given me my 5-inch in the middle to do my 5 by 7 card base. So we put our scoring board away. So that's what I said, if you haven't got a scoreboard, it's not a worry at all with this card. So now we're going to do some lines. So I'm going to have it so that my wider piece is on the right hand side for now. So the smaller one is off to the left. So this one is 3.5, and this one is just under 3.25. So let's mark. So I'm putting my ruler to the top, and I'm going to come down 2.5 inches and draw a little mark. And then from the bottom right hand corner, I'm going to come in 1 inches. Okay, so down 2.5 and in 1 inch. And on the other side, again, I'm going to come down 2.5 inches. And do a little mark. And then I'm going to come in 1/2 inch from the bottom left hand corner. Just 1/2 inch this time. Okay, so down 2.5 and in 1/2 inch. And now I'm going to draw a line. You can see from my score line here down to that mark there. So from the top of the score line to my mark. And then from that mark down to the one I made on the bottom. And I'm going to repeat the process on the left hand side one, from that mark to the score line. And then from that score line, from that mark to that bottom mark. So I'm just going to grab my nice long scissors here, and we're just going to cut those lines. And on the smaller flap, and that one. So I can discard those. So now when I flip it over, that wider one is here on the left, and that slightly slimmer one is on the right hand side. So you can see now where the angled gatefold comes in. So as you open it, you've got a gatefold there. Gatefold there, and you've got your angle and an angle as you open it up. So now it's a case of just decorating it as you wish. So I'm going to start off with just decorating the back. So I've got my Kindly Thoughts paper here. So all I've done is gone to the photo print option on my computer and chosen my two papers and printed them on one sheet. So you don't need to print off a whole sheet for anything. So they're going to be for the front, and for the inside I've chosen one of these ones which has got a pattern on the top and bottom but space to write on the inside. So I think if I remember rightly there's a butterfly on this. Yes, there is. So I'd like to keep that butterfly, I think. Right, there we are. So I'm going to cut it now at 1/4 inch smaller than my card base. So my card base is 5 by 7. So instead of 5 inches, I'm going to go back to 4 3/4. You can see I've kept my butterfly in now. And then 6 3/4, isn't it? For a 7 inch card. And then I'm just going to take some of my black soot distress ink. So I'm not re-inking, I'm just using what I've got left, so that it's just a fading sort of edge, just to tidy up the edges. So it's not a harsh black line this time, just a kind of shadow. And let's glue that in. So again, making sure my butterfly is the right way up. I'm just going to put that on the inside. So I chose this with a pattern on the top because when the card is closed, you will actually see the top in that V. So just think ahead to what you're choosing for that bit, because it really will help you finish it off nicely. And then you've got to think about, right, how am I going to keep it closed? Or are you just going to leave it like that? One option is, if you take some of your paper, especially that bit we took off the top is nice and long, you could make a belly band to keep your card closed, which slides on and off. Or what I'm going to do is use some of my scrapbooking techniques, because I've got some magnets left. So I'm just going to take 2 magnets. Now these are just 1/2 mil thick. I think they were 12 mil wide, but 10 would work fine. The 1/2 mil I find really good because it doesn't show under your papers quite as much. So now I'm going to just draw where this card overlaps, like so. And normally I do use my double-sided tape, but I've only got my double-sided tape gun today. I'm going to put some tape down like that. And I'm going to place my magnet in the middle. Okay, so I've just stuck my magnet into the middle of that portion here. Now I'm going to attach another magnet now to the front, so I can feel where it is. It's about there. Let's just put some double-sided tape down. I'm going to drop my magnet on top. There we are. So now I've got a magnet on the front of this one and on the front of this one. So when they close, it's just going to keep my card closed. Got a bit of double-sided tape there. Okay, so now let's have a think about how to decorate the front. As I said, I printed off 2 papers. One very decorative and one not so much, a bit plainer. Still from the same kit. It's got a bit of pattern to it. And I'm going to cut both my papers just that 1/4 inch shorter than my card base. So it's a 7-inch tall base. So let's go back to 6 3/4. Now my decorative one is on the left hand side, which is my wider one. And if I remember right, I scored that at 3.5. So I'm going to my widest point here, 3.5. So we're going to go back an inch, so it's 3.25. And with my plainer one, let's have a look. It is 3 1/8 wide. So let's go to 3 1/8. So going back 1/4, so back 1/8, back 2/8. So that's 2 7/8. So let's go to the 3 and go back 1/8. And cut. Now let's bring my pencil back in and bring my card blank. So what I'm going to do is, in my head, I'm imagining this being still that complete, let's have a look, is it that way? As that complete rectangle I had at the start. So that is now pretty much a layer to go onto that complete one. But obviously we've taken off those angles. So what I'm looking at is lining up a little board on the left and right. So my cut lines this, I'm going to go from there to this point here, just there. So let's have a little zoom in. So the point of my card is there. Now you don't go in line with it, just come down a tiny bit, and down to here would be there. Or, whilst it's in place, just take your ruler and draw it straight on. Now, because I've used matte paper, you may not see the line clearly with a pencil, so you might want to do it with a pen. And don't worry, because you're always going to ink the edge later on anyway. So now, let's zoom back out. We're just going to cut those angles. So this is how I would layer some awkward shaped pockets in my mini albums. So just using the same techniques but on a card. Now let's check it first. Are we happy with that matte? Now I'm quite happy with that. If I'm not, I would just trim a little bit extra something off. It's just a bit of trial and error really, until you're happy with it. And let's glue this panel on. And just remember your magnet is here, so give it a good burnish around the magnet. So that's our first one done. I think I've got a bit of double sided, yeah. I'll have to cover that later on with a bit on the inside as well, I think. And let's go on to this one. So same principle. I'm going to line it up as if I've got the full rectangle. Take my pencil and I'm going to come down to there, to there. And then from that angle up to the corner of the paper. Just using my nice long scissors. Take my black soot. Again, I haven't re-inked it, just so it's more of a lighter black, if that makes sense. So it's not as harsh. And I didn't check if I was happy with it, so hopefully, let's have a look. See, I think I would come down a little bit and trim a little bit more of that angle off if I was being particularly thing, which I think I'm going to be. So let's just trim it a little bit more of an angle. Re-ink. And that's slightly better now. And again, remember you've got that magnet there. So now we've got that little magnet closure. Again, as I said, you could have just made a belly band and then you can stick your topper onto the belly band. But because I've got that magnet today, I can just go ahead. Now this is a top I created just with one of the floral toppers from the kit and put one of the banners across. So I could stick that flat, but I think I'm going to use my foam pads today. Now the great thing about this bit now is you can have it overlapping those angles, but because you've gone to so much effort to make those matted angles, I think you would probably want to keep some of them on show, wouldn't you? So let's just overlap it a tiny bit on the top and off to the side. So obviously because it's overlapping, you can see there's no foam pads on the left hand side there. So let's flip it over. So I've already gone round these with some black soot, and same with the banner. You see there's a little bit of black soot on that. So let's trim my foam tape down. Now the great thing about these digi-kits is that when you're making your toppers, if you use copy and paste and don't change the size, what you're really doing is creating your own decoupage. Here we go. Let's just get it a bit straighter. So you can choose then which bits you're going to raise. I could have cut out some of these blue ones because that's intact there to 3D foam as well, but keeping it nice and simple. So then up to you. You can use that same technique again and you can cover on the inside, but I'm going to leave it as it is for now. So a great way of showing off some of your papers, because you're using the border one, a plain one, a patterned one, and using your toppers. Now, as always, I'd love to see you have a go at this and share with me on my Facebook group, Papercrafting with Paul. I'll leave a link to the group in the description below. Now, some people can't find the description, so you may have to, depending on your device, click on show more, or underneath the video, underneath the title, you'll see a little arrow pointing down. And if you click on that, it'll just expand the menu description. So you'll find a link to the group where you'll see more examples of these cards and my other projects made by me and some of the other people in the group as well. So plenty of inspiration, and also a link as well to the kit I used here, Kindly Thoughts. So have a look, and I look forward to seeing your versions. And as always, if you liked it, give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate that. So thanks for watching, and see you all again soon.